They can stay up for years. They're very cheap to launch. And you can put any type of platform you want on them. And they launch these in the airstream so they know exactly where they're going. And again, many of them actually are able to use jets that are solar powered or propeller powered with solar power. Small little jets to be able to move the balloon and basically steer the balloon or the dirigible, also known as a blimp. So we're going to be discussing all that at 877-789-2539. This is, again, a major escalation. And last night, this morning, they weren't getting it, but now more and more they are. I have a few clips of the Pentagon statements coming up. And then your phone calls. Please remember, we cannot do the broadcast without you. Plus, we have amazing products that really will enrich and empower your life. So I ask all listeners, especially those that have been on the fence, ever gone to InfoWarsStore.com to get in the arena and get your skin in the game and get great products at the same time. And Info... Store.com. These great callers, but I got to tell everybody here, because Mike Adams.
Reality of people dying.
The last year, we've done a very successful fundraiser of silver coin.
Strategy was developed by Richard Cloward and Francis Piven in the 1960s. It outlines a strategy for radical social change by way of abusing the system to the point of destruction.
You know, we were associated with the social work tradition, which said that the programs worked as they were supposed to work. But they didn't work as they were supposed to work. And it was out of that realization, that insight, that we developed the strategy to end poverty, which called for a massive mobilization of social workers and lawyers and organizers to get people the benefits to which they were entitled. We were proposing a kind of movement that demanded what people were already entitled to by law, by regulation, by propaganda.
The primary goal of the Cloward-Piven strategy is to create a political and economic crisis that would destroy capitalism and lead to the implementation of a socialist system with a guaranteed income. The strategy involves enrolling large numbers of people into the welfare system, as many people as it takes to overwhelm and strain the system until it collapses. Everyone enrolled into the welfare system is also used as an army to carry out the destruction of the current system. They are registered to vote and instructed on how to vote. They are organized and mobilized and made to appear as grassroots organizations demanding more from the system. The ideal outcome of the Cloward-Piven strategy is to collapse the current system. According to their theory, this will compel the government to implement a universal basic income, which would then shift the U.S. towards a more socialist system with increased government control over the economy. Everyone is being encouraged to do it. Burn it down is the new sexy ring. In high school, they compare it to the American Revolution.
The Cloward-Piven strategy is a political gambit designed to overwhelm the American government. by placing so many demands on the bureaucratic structure that it collapses. It's sort of a shock and awe campaign, a surprise attack on entrenched systems meant to force major changes to the ways that things are handled by the government. It may be messy, but it does harken back to a fundamental ideology of the American Republic. If it ain't fixed, break it.
All of this explains the likes of AOC.
What people like AOC are doing, what the squad is doing, is really very important, very important. But at the same time, there is this movement which is so big. Some people say it's the biggest movement in American history. It's hard to know because it's hard to measure a movement. But it is big, and it is interracial, and it penetrates into every small town. I now am in upstate New York. The town I'm closest to has maybe 2,000 people. You know, we have little demonstrations in front of the post office for Black Lives Matter. And this is Trump country. Nevertheless, there is a Black Lives Matter demonstration. So it's a very potent and important moment in American political development. And we have to make the most of it, because if we don't know what's going to happen, but it's not going to be good.
Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
You know, it's funny. The left claims they want to overwhelm the system to break it. And they say, oh, that's like 1776. Well, here's an idea. I don't like the FBI. Why don't we just shut it down? How about we don't collapse the country? How about we identify the problematic bureaucracies and just shut them down? No, they'd rather destroy things. That's what they're into.
Please give me 1 minute of your time. Please write this down, and please go look this up. It will change your life. The UN admits, and the Lancet Medical Journal admits, that upwards of 2 billion people have mental disabilities and declining cognitive abilities. The term they use is intellectual disability because of lack of iodine. Most iodine in the environment is bound to other elements so your body can't absorb it. Only pure iodine can really be absorbed right into the cells. And InfoWarsStore.com has the only iodine out there that actually has this type of full effect. Ladies and gentlemen, X3's been sold out for 6 months. It's very hard to produce, and it's finally back in stock. In fact, I was just taking some before I shot this ad. This, ladies and gentlemen, is powerful. You and your family need it. It's 25% off, back in stock. X3 Tri-Iodine exclusively at InfoWarsStore.com. Take action now, but regardless, research this info.
Broadcasting live from the UN stronghold, Austin, Texas. You're listening to The Alex Jones Show. And now, your host, Owen Schroyer.
An honor and privilege to be with you here on this Monday, May 22nd, 2023. You know, there's one thing I think we can all agree on. Even, you just heard from Cloward and Piven right there. Is it fair to say that the U.S. government is the primary source of the worst evil on the planet? Is it fair to say that? Is it fair to say that in your experience in this life, that the U.S. government is the most evil entity you've ever encountered? I think that might be fair to say. I think you could probably find people on all political spectrums that would agree with that. But see, the difference is, where do you then distribute the power? Do you distribute the power to the individual in a self-government system, in a democratic republic? Or do you distribute the power to a centralized group that then determines how you will live your life? And ultimately, in the second situation, you end up becoming the source of evil, the government. And isn't that what is really at the spine of this news organization? Isn't that what is the guts of InfoWars? Isn't that the soul of this audience? The U.S. government, as it stands, is the highest.
It's Thursday, September 21st, 2023, and the biggest development yet in the ongoing proxy war between the West and Russia has now taken place. Poland has officially announced zero military aid now to Ukraine when Poland has been the biggest supporter of Ukraine. And the Polish president has been very clear on why this is happening. Ukraine and NATO have completely abused Poland in the last year and a half on a massive scale. And that's really the moral of the story. When you serve the globalists, you're a schmuck. When you work with them in any way, you will be abused, you will be used, you will be punished for being an idiot, for being a servile fool. That's the name of the game. Total betrayal. This is a criminal worldwide operation carried out by the owners of BlackRock, who are seeking to undermine and collapse civilization towards their goal of forced depopulation. That's all coming up in great detail next segment. Then we're going to get into the Attorney General and play some of the clips. Merrick Garland completely freaking out in front of Congress when their own documents and memos come out that they're persecuting Christians, that they're persecuting Amish, they're persecuting Catholics, traditional Catholics, massively. They're going after, as we all know, parents that peacefully go to school boards and say we don't want our children taught they're evil because they're white or taught how pedophilia is good. He started crying, saying he's trying to basically stop another Holocaust, and that some of his family died in the Holocaust. And so he's got to protect America from extremism by carrying out things that are very closely aligned politically in the strategy of control that the Nazis did, the strategy of fear, the strategy of totalitarianism. We have that massive news. And now, in the case of the persecution of Russell Brand, it has become crystal clear In fact, Tim Pullman made a great point last night when Harrison Smith was on the show, that this is the fastest conspiracy theory he's ever seen come true. That's right, Rumble did not bow down to the British government. Rumble was sent a letter, obviously YouTube was as well, demanding by the British government that Russell Brand, because he's been accused, no criminal charges, guilty until proven guilty, simple accusation, YouTube had demonetized him and is now moving to remove him off the platform. And that's exactly what the British government did. They reached out to Rumble and said, we want you to demonetize/remove Russell Brand off your platform. And they had all these publications attack Rumble, saying, why do you have Russell Brand there? Why are you allowing him to have free speech? And all this was done in concert with the corporate media. Again, 2 days ago, Rumble sent a letter by the British government demanding that they censor and demonetize/remove Russell Brand. At the same time, YouTube removed him, but didn't really give a reason. And now we know that the corporate press was basically the artillery of the propaganda offensive and attacked Rumble and demanded that Rumble take him off without telling the world that they were working in concert with the British government. And when you look at these different fact-checking organizations and groups, they're all multinational, they're all international. We have the UN, the EU, the WEF, all bragging that they're in control in the Western world, including America and Canada, of the censorship bureaus and systems. So, just like we saw in the weaponization hearings in Congress the last few months, it is intelligence agencies with the different prosecution and federal boards of the UK, the EU, the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, literally ganging up and coming in and going after people in concert with media attacks, government demands for people to be silenced, along with false criminal charges and or just unsubstantiated accusations. So this is a total and complete formula. It's absolutely illegal. It is incredible oppression. It is an absolute travesty. We'll be laying that out as well when we come back. But this is massive. We've caught them with their pants down. My fellow patriots, the trifecta has not been in stock for years. Many of these products have been sold out for years, but we've not had all three of them at once together at InfoWarsStore.com for 40% off. This is your best opportunity at the lowest price to support the broadcast, but more importantly, experience DNA Force Plus, Real Red Pill Plus, and Body's Ultimate Turmeric Formula. All three of these products are back in stock right now for limited time at 40% off. It would take me an hour to tell you about what's in DNA Force Plus or Real Red Pill Plus or Body's Ultimate Turmeric Formula. Go to InfoWarsStore.com, read about these products, find out why they're so game-changing, and get yours today. DNA Force Plus, Real Red Pill Plus, Body's Ultimate Turmeric Formula, all three back in stock. It's the trifecta sale, 40% off for a limited time at InfoWarsStore.com, and it keeps us on air.
And it's time for humanity to stand up in the info war and say, I don't know what's going to happen at the end of this, but you want to fight, you better believe you got one!
From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest, most positive development in the nearly 2-year war in Ukraine, the massive hybrid or proxy war between the United States and NATO against Russia, has now taken place. The Polish president has officially come out and said zero military support now to Ukraine and has laid out the reasons. This is extremely good news because, again, this war is leading us towards thermonuclear conflagration. It's already the middle stages of World War III. It's destroying the world economy. And the crime syndicate that's hijacked America is using the war to launder hundreds of billions of dollars back to themselves that they then use to bomb the political process and oppress us. And while our borders completely collapse and our veterans commit suicide at record levels and pedophilia is openly promoted in the schools, the religion of the left is censorship and surveillance and war and control. And polls show upwards of 80% of Americans are against this war, and the polls are turning against them as well across Europe. Pun intended, the polls in Poland. The political analysis, the polls of the Polish people are showing they are now turning against the war rapidly, and they have big elections coming up on October 15th, and so the Polish government knows which way the wind is blowing. So let's go ahead and read this excellent Zero Hedge article that is up on Infowars.com right now. NATO fractures in U-turn. Poland announces it will no longer arm Ukraine. The dam is breaking on unified Western support for Ukraine, and the timing couldn't be worse for Zelensky. Given tomorrow, he's expected to meet with President Biden at the White House on Wednesday evening. There's a monumental news out of Poland, which could potentially change the entire course of the war. Again, this broke last night. This is the live Thursday transmission. Poland will no longer arm Ukraine to focus on its own defense. Polish Prime Minister announced just hours after Warsaw summoned Ukraine's ambassador related to fresh war of words and a spat over blocking grain. According to AFP, Warsaw has throughout more than a year and a half of the Ukraine-Russian war been Kiev's staunchest and most outspoken supporter. With this massive and hugely significant about-face marks the beginning of the end. The beginning of the end. Peace negotiations and ceding of territory in the Donbass inevitable at this point. In the last 48 hours, relations between Poland and Ukraine quickly spiraled to their lowest point since the Russian invasion, and it is directly related to Warsaw leading a handful of EU countries to extend a grain export ban on Ukraine amid continuing anger and outrage from Polish farmers who are suffering due to their country being flooded with cheap Ukrainian wheat and a bunch of other corruption I'll get to in a moment. Critically, Poland will hold parliamentary elections on October 15th. The prior atmosphere of enthusiastic pro-Kiev rhetoric has drastically changed, now with comparisons liking Ukraine to a drowning man, as the Associated Press explains. Polish leaders have compared Ukraine to a drowning person hurting his helper and threatening to expand a ban on food products from the war-torn country. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky suggested that the EU allies that are prohibiting imports of the nation's grain are helping Russia. Now, Polish officials who are trying to win parliamentary elections next month with the help of farmers' votes are expressing dismay over some of Ukraine's latest moves, including a World Trade Organization complaint over bans on Ukrainian grain from Poland and 2 other EU countries. In a surprisingly blunt and terse statement given to reporters on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, Polish president said on Tuesday, Ukraine is behaving like a drowning person clinging to anything available. He went on to say a drowning person is extremely dangerous, capable of pulling you down to the depths, simply drowning the rescuer. Given Ukraine's battlefield losses and its currently bogged down and failing counteroffensive, the words no doubt had a major sting. But as the Hill notes, the future of the domestic political context in Poland is souring against the war. Public sentiment around the issue, however, has started to deteriorate, putting the ruling party in a difficult position ahead of a close October election. The far-right Confederation Party is hoping to capitalize on the waning support in the country. Now, let's lay out the issue here. Poland has given them, meaning Ukraine, massive amounts of their own weapons stockpile. They've also had Polish soldiers in Ukraine fighting the Russians. At the same time, the EU is trying to flood Poland with Islamic and African refugees. The EU has been trying to sanction Poland because of it. You can see the famous map showing terror attacks around Europe. They're all over the place. Churches being burned by the thousands all over the place, but no terrorism, no churches being burned in Poland because, like Hungary and Romania, they are not putting up with the Islamic and other third world invasion operations of the replacement migration program. But larger than that, the criminal regime in Ukraine, again, isn't just laundering money. They aren't just human trafficking. They aren't just kidnapping children and selling their organs. All this is confirmed. They are absolutely emboldened and believe that they're owed everything. And as you remember last year, Zelensky said, we've got to attack Russia. Russia just fired 2 missiles into Poland. And then the Poles shot down the missiles and were able to show that they had tail numbers on them that were Ukrainians. So Poland understands they're being sucked into a wider war. They understand that Ukraine is losing. They know that 9 years ago, the U.S. government overthrew the elected government of Ukraine, and they understand that this is escalating very, very quickly, and that now Poland has been approached by NATO to build giant weapons factories inside Poland, and NATO is saying this war may last 10 years or longer. So the Polish people are having major second thoughts, and this is an incredibly positive development. The Russians don't want to expand any further into Poland. They just want that region in the east that's always been Russian. They want to be able to control and protect their Black Sea fleet and their only deep water port that they have in the Black Sea that is there in Crimea. And Putin is ready to make the deal. And again, this will massively de-escalate problems. It will end the grain shortages that are hurting Africa and other countries, because again, Ukraine produces about 30% of the grain in the world. And you then have the Polish farmers, who are the biggest bloc in that nation of people that have jobs. It's a major farming country as well, and they are having all this subsidized with Western money, subsidized produce and wheat dumped on them. And then when they complain and say, you're bankrupting us, Zelensky says you're Russian agents. And so insulting the Poles, who have much bigger beasts historically than Ukrainians with Russians, and telling them that they're Russian agents, has angered the Poles. And so this is, again, Zelensky's arrogance, and it's a very, very good sign this is happening. But the people that control the BlackRock interests, the globalist interests, the WEF UN interest, the NATO interest that control Ukraine aren't going to give up easily. And I believe we're going to try to have more false flags, more staged events to try to escalate the war, continue to give heavier and heavier weapons like tanks and F-16s and cruise missiles to the Ukrainians, hoping that as they hit targets inside Russia, they can lure Russia into an expansion of the war and to hitting civilian targets, so that there is a pretext to have NATO officially enter the war. And of course, Russia said it's a red line if NATO accepts Ukraine in to NATO. So we're going to be watching all of this extremely closely as it unfolds. We'll be right back to break down the incredible domestic news and so much more. Please stay with us. Don't lie down and take it. Spread the word about this broadcast. Pray for this broadcast. Support other broadcasts, please. And please financially support us at InfoWarsStore.com. Only way we operate is your funding. You are the Info Warrior, the reason we're here. Please go to InfoWarsStore.com right now and empower yourself and your immune system and your body and your health and your vitality with a trifecta sale, 40% off, with DNA Force Plus finally back in stock, Body's Ultimate Tumor Formula finally back in stock, and Real Red Pill.
Bluetooth pairing.
Give him my microphone. There. Give him my phone. My phone, can you find it?
Bluetooth connected.
I'm a wayward Baptist trying not to dance. I've been looking in the mirror saying, girl, you gotta chill. But I can't sit still. I'm an outside dog on the inside leash. I'm a limb in the wind trying to shake off a leaf. I'm a raindrop running down a cracked windshield. I can't sit still.
Where's the remote? Lost it. Lost the remote.
Well, my hat's hung up and my boots ain't on. Thoughts in my head have a mind of their own. I'm climbing up the walls, I'm going downhill. I can't sit still. I ain't got my breath since I took my first, so I get my rest when I'm in the dirt. It's a sweet relief, it's a bitter pill. I'm an addict, it's a habit I can't kill. I can't sit still. I can't sit still. My breath since I took my first, so I guess I rest when I'm in the dirt. It's a sweet relief, it's a bitter pill. I'm an addict, it's a habit I can't kill. It's what wakes me up, it's what brings me down. Yeah, what gets me here just might take me out. It's a sweet relief, it's a bitter pill. I'm an addict, it's a habit I can't kill. I can't sit still. I can't sit
Copenhagen. What the fuck was that?
What's up?
Well, the sky's all black.
Yes, sir. Where you at, right? Hey, yo, you knew me? He wrote the wagon. Ah, damn, where's the accent from, bro? You down south some damn where. I'm thinking Georgia or something. Kentucky. Nah, not Kentucky. I ain't going. I'm thinking you down there in Georgia, Florida, North Carolina. Now that's where I'm at. A lot of my family from South Carolina. Yeah, oh yes, sir. Hey, holding that motherfucker down.